What is up, everyone? And welcome back to another episode of the Sobacksports podcast. And we're so back with another banger episode. And we have, a couple of guests today to talk a little bit about football. So let's kind of introduce ourselves. So want to start CeeVee or Shamar Turner FC?
Oh yeah, why not? All right, guys. Obviously, if you guys see my name, I'm a CV3, as I am on YouTube, and also known as the Shamar Turner Fan Club. Um, I'm excited to talk about some football today. Obviously, this is kind of the dead period for football, unfortunately. So we're not going to see anything crazy happen unless some crazy trade happens, which you know we'll see about that. It's really hard to predict if that happens, but either way, I'm down to talk about football whenever. It's kind of the only thing you can do for the next 4 months or so. So I'm excited for that for sure.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Advaith next.
My name is Advaith Kumar, and I basically make content about the Bears on my YouTube channel. My name. I'm really excited to come on here. I think this is my second time on here and talk about some Bears football.
100%. 100%. And obviously, we have this way because I can't do directions. We have SlashingGotNext. He also does football content. Do you want to do a little bit of spiel?
Yeah. I mean, I just do football content. Huge Bears fan. Just excited to talk about football.
100%, 100%. And speaking of trades, actually, that's a good thing I forgot to mention. I kind of wanted you guys' opinion. Yesterday morning or like early on in the morning, there was a George Pickens is officially on the Dallas Cowboys. Like, you thought that the offseason after the draft, it kind of goes a little bit dead. Guess not, because apparently George Pickens is on the move, which will kind of go into the winners and losers a little bit because it does affect the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I kind of wanted to see what you guys' opinion on that trade or that move was. So who wants to start?
I'll start off. I was actually talking to a coworker about this today, and in my opinion, the trade baffles me because I was telling him that this is one of the few trades I feel like that it's a lose-lose for both sides. And if I start off with the Cowboys side of it first, I mean, you're trading away your third-round pick to get a receiver. And yes, you did need a wide receiver too, though. And, absolutely. I think that could have been addressed in the draft. A guy like George Pickens, he's not a top-tier receiver. Let's just keep it a buck. He's nowhere on Justin Jefferson's level. He's nowhere on now his teammate CeeDee Lamb's level. He's in that middle tier. He's good, but he was traded away for a third-round pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick for a reason. So if he really was that top receiver, he would have gone for a lot more. On top of that, you have to extend him, and he's going to command a lot of money, especially with the salary cap going up. And now you're having to sign him after guys like Jamar Chase had, signed their deals. T. Higgins signed his deal. You're probably actually looking at around maybe T. Higgins' numbers there. And do you really want to pay that to George Pickens? Are you going to keep him after this season? So you're either going to pay him a lot of money or you're going to let him walk. So I don't really like it that much. It's not a game-changing move really for the Cowboys. And then for the Steelers side, I can't for the life of me understand if they're trying to rebuild or compete. And it makes zero sense to me why you would let him go for that cheap of a price for a third-round pick. And then, I don't know, you're going to throw in a 2027 fifth-round pick. That's almost disrespectful to the guy that's been carrying your receiving core for the past few years. And you draft him with a second-round pick just to let him go for a cheaper price. And to me, that does the exact opposite of what I thought they were trying to do, because they acquired DK Metcalf. And, I thought, okay, whatever quarterback comes in, maybe Will Howard steps in and maybe he's a decent quarterback. Now he's got two decent wide receivers. Now you only have one guy and you're back to square one. I don't really understand what the move was there. So I can't really even pick a winner for either side. This is sort of a lose-lose situation. I think the true winner is whoever else is going to end up with George Pickens, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. If he ends up walking next season to another team, I think that team ends up being the winner of this entire trade, because I can't for the life of me understand why this trade even happened for either side. And I don't really see why that needed to happen, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked when I saw this trade. A little funny story. My friend that's a Cowboys friend, name is David, and like He told me about it like at 1 a.m. Actually, I was sleeping, but and I got the news like at like when I woke up like 7 a.m. So like from Schefter. But anyways, I thought that was a little funny. But I think my opinion, I do agree with you. I think for the Cowboys, like I didn't like it because George Pickens is a second round pick, so this is his last year on his deal. So there's no fifth year option for him. And like the Cowboys are like they have so many big contracts with Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, and Dak Prescott. Like I don't like it. Like I don't think they're gonna re-sign him. And like I don't think he's gonna get. I think obviously CeeDee Lamb's gonna get a lot of targets, and then I don't know if he's gonna get the money that he wants. And another thing is, George Pickens, like a lot of Steelers receivers, is a diva. I mean, there's a reason why he was drafted in the second round. Um, yeah, so I don't know how that's gonna work out. So yeah, I don't like it. And also another thing about Dak Prescott, and I was talking to my Cowboys friend. He doesn't throw a lot of 50-50 balls. I mean, they had a receiver back in 2016. I mean, y'all know him. He's Des Bryant, and he he's really known for like getting the 50-50 balls. I know they also had like Michael Gallup too. So, but when Dak Prescott became the quarterback, his numbers went down. And my biggest fear is George Pickens is a guy that like he doesn't get a lot of separations. He's like more of a 50-50 guy, downhill receiver. I just don't know if that's the type of guy that Dak Prescott is really good with. He's more of a guy that gets. He's really good with people that get like separation, like CeeDee Lamb. Even when Brandon Cooks was good like 2 years ago, he was a pretty good with them. So I don't know. Maybe it could work out. Maybe George Pickens, decides to have a good attitude, but I don't like it for this Cowboys. And then for the Steelers, I kind of like it because I kind of value third round picks. I like it a lot. Because I think the Steelers are going to, whether they like it or not, going to enter rebuild territory. I mean, they haven't rebuilt in like 20 years now. So and they gotta, next year's quarterback class is gonna be really good. So I'm excited for what the Steelers can do because I think they have a really good future. Um, and I don't know, I'm pretty high on Will Howard. I think he's gonna be good for them. So, um, yeah, I think obviously they didn't draft a receiver, but I think I think they have at least draft picks to justify this move. And the Steelers were never going to pay George Pickens like $30 million. So it was the right move, in my opinion, to get something for George Pickens.
All right, Advaith, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of disagree with both the statements that were made. I mean, for me, I think the most obvious winner here is the Cowboys. Yes, in the past, um, Steelers wide receivers have been bad. I mean, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. We can go on and on and on, right? And the results kind of stay the same. Like when a receiver leaves Pittsburgh, they're bad. But I feel like Pickens is different because he's only 24 years old, so he's a year younger than me. He's still not even in the prime of his career. He's still in this rookie contract, which makes it a little bit more different than Claypool, than these other guys, when they weren't released on their rookie contracts. And by far, I think with all the receivers, he has the most potential. So the fact that the Cowboys only got him for a third round pick, when considering the past they gave up a fifth for Amari Cooper, and if he does leave, they'll get a third round compensatory pick, meaning that they basically are doing a draft swap with George Pickens, which I think is a really, really good trade. I like it. I think that something is starting to change in Dallas because Jerry typically doesn't really make those big trades, if you will. So I think that the fact that he made this trade, I think it's going to help Dak. We'll see if he can stay healthy. But I think it's going to help Dak. I think Schuttersmeyer will take good advantage of him better than what their previous coach would have done. So I like it a lot for the Cowboys. I don't think they can go wrong with this. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, yeah, I'm with both of you. I don't really see why they did this. It makes no sense to me. for me, I mean, why would you go in and trade Pickens if if the thinking was, hey, we're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, then you want two superstar wide receivers because you want to go into the playoffs. This is a team that time and time again has lost in a wild card, so you want more talent. So I thought that they would have um, kept George Pickens. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Rodgers. So we'll see what happens with that. If you're going to have a rookie quarterback, you're probably going to tank. So, I mean, that's kind of the vision I see here with Tomlin. And then that brings its own can of worms, right? With, hey, we're going to keep Tomlin or not? Or we're going to go and fire him. Yes, he's a great head coach. Yes, he has a winning record, but past the wild card, he hasn't really gotten past it. So yeah, I don't really know what Pittsburgh's plan is here. Um, maybe go and get a quarterback next year, like Arch Manning, any of the guys that might be coming in next year. But yeah, I mean that's kind of where I see it. I give this Cowboys probably a B plus. And then for the Steelers right now, I'm gonna give it a C minus to a D. So that's the grades that I would give it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everyone. They all made some very valid points. I think, from a long term and short term perspective, I think long term, it's going to be the Steelers win this trade, and short term, the Cowboys win this trade. And here's why. So the Cowboys just need, the wide receiver help like immediately, just to like kind of start everything out, and just to have like a placeholder, I would say, is George Pickens, and that's a great placeholder. But the issue with that is George Pickens isn't necessarily, like people have said, like is only really a 50-50 ball receiver. He's not a deep threat per se, and he's not like a speedster either. He's just really good with a contested catch. And with Dak Prescott not being able to utilize the moon balls a lot, like how Russell Wilson did, and that's when George Pickens sort of thrived in that brief period when Russell Wilson was playing, because Russ would throw those really beautiful moon balls, and that would be his like bread and butter. He would go and make that play. But when he doesn't get the ball is when the issue is. And a lot of times, Dak will not give you that ball. And that moment, it will be bad news bears pretty much, where he'll throw tantrums, he will sulk on the sideline, and it will just be a recipe for disaster. So you're all right. I'm not going to repeat what you guys are saying. I'm just saying, like, from my perspective, I think in general the Steelers win the trade because they know that whatever they bring in a receiver and when their expiration date is, and it's a complete cycle. And I think while it may be good and that they recognize that, I think long term, in terms of like a sustained playoff run or like a championship, it's not really ideal. So yeah, anything last second to add before we move on to the next topic at hand?
Yeah, I want to add in one small thing. I mean, even if you think about how the Cowboys offense is going to work, they have, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are relatively the same wide receiver. They're both gonna be that X wide receiver. CeeDee has more speed. He has a lot more things that you can do than George does. But the fact that you have two X wide receivers that you can probably spread on the field, I think it's going to open up that offense. And again, it only matters, hey, can Dak hit that deep ball? And if he can, I think that, the Steelers, the Cowboys will be fine. And even if you think about, hey, can the Cowboys re-sign him? I mean, Jerry typically does not let this talent like that go away. And especially if he gives up a third, he has a plan, even if it might be late, to keep George and to keep Micah Parsons. So I think they'll find a way to sign both. So, we'll see what happens. But I do think that the Cowboys are winners.
That's fair. That's completely fair. What else was there? Yeah, so we got some news today, some big news pretty much, and I'm gonna try this out today. So we're gonna. Oh wait, this is the wrong, but it doesn't matter. But the new pope is from Chicago. First of all, when I found out this news today, I was like not really expecting anything. I'll be absolutely real. I was just like, oh, it's probably gonna be one of like the candidates available. And then I found out like it was just circulating around saying like, oh, this Pope is actually from Chicago, born and raised from Chicago, and went to Villanova, which is also another crazy thing too. Um, so yeah, this also begs the question. Let's think real quick here. How does this affect the Chicago Bears going forward in the 2024-2025 NFL season? Not 2024, what am I talking about? 2025-2026 NFL season. I'm mixing up my years already. So I want to open the floor to kind of see, give me your reaction to what your thoughts were, and, just have fun with it.
I'll go first, man. I mean, first off, Super Bowl, obviously. I mean, that's the only answer, to be honest. Super Bowl for however long this dude stays alive. So, enjoy the next 20 plus years of Super Bowl victories. But obviously, in all seriousness, I do really like it. I mean, obviously, a Chicago native here being a representative of the Catholic Church. So, I have a lot of family who's Catholic. And, obviously, they're very excited to know that he's from Chicago, And I don't know too much about him. I'll be completely for real. I know zero. I actually completely forgot his name, to be honest. But he's from Chicago. I don't know if anyone's confirmed if he was actually a Bears fan or if he even watched sports in general.
Yeah, to be fair, they were like making reports about whether he was a Cubs fan or a Sox fan. Initially, the Chicago Cubs came out saying like, "Oh, he's from Chicago, so he definitely is a Chicago Cubs fan." And then apparently there was like a WGN news reporter that was like, "Nay, we just talked to his brother, and he confirms that this is not true at all. He is actually a White Sox fan." So they're conflicting reports, and I feel like personally, unfortunately, I'd have to trust the brother, obviously, because he definitely knows him more. But, then again, at heart, he's Chicago. So I'm just going to forget I heard that, honestly. So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, do we know like which part of Chicago he's from?
They were like saying,
South side?
I don't know. I feel like I've been getting mixed things about it. He's like South side, maybe. I'm not 100%.
If he's South side, then yeah, it's going to make sense that he's a Sox fan, which would be unfortunate for him. Maybe that means the Sox will actually do something this season. I'm a Cubs fan, so I could care less. But I mean, hey, I hope he's a Bears fan. I hope he's watched some Bears football. I think the fact that he's from Chicago and the fact that's already circulating, I wouldn't be surprised if he makes an appearance at a Bears game, somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if he's, brought up obviously with the in the middle of the game and stuff. Hey, this Pope is from Chicago. They always want to little clickbaits here and there, little sound bites or whatever. So,
yeah,
what does it do for the Bears? I mean, boring answer is nothing, obviously, but of course, we want to have fun with it. My entire group chat's all Super Bowl or bust for this year. So, I mean, hey, maybe we got the Holy Spirit on our side for once. I mean, we need something because I've been saying it for years, man. I feel like God is the only thing that's going to bring this city a championship because for some reason we're just cursed in a lot of different ways ever since the 85 Bears. So
exactly.
We'll see what happens with that, man. I don't know.
That's completely fair. Any other reactions to it? Not really. Just indifferent to this.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's pretty cool the fact that he's from Chicago. Somebody said he's from Dothan. So, yeah, I mean, the story behind how he was a White Sox fan, I just listened to his brother talking about it. So, his mom is basically a Cubs fan. And then his dad was a Cardinals fan. And then he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go and be a White Sox fan. So I think that's where it came from.
What the heck?
Okay. I obviously
just found the middle ground, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a terrible middle ground. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, we don't really know if he's a Bears fan, but I think this only brings a good football look to us. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, like, you see, obviously, this is all fun and games. Like, at this point, I'm not making like a whole thing about that, but it's kind of cool. It's like it's pretty cool that like something as big, like it's international as the Pope. It is, Chicago is mentioned, and he's from it. So it was pretty cool when I found that out. And personally, I think that we have God on our side. That's all we really need, and we definitely need that, especially after, like you said, the 85 Bears, and we sold our soul essentially to get that. But and then again, let's apparently now let's talk about another key thing that came out today, and that is jersey numbers that have like come out for our rookies, because as we found out that uh what's his name? Colston Loveland. I don't know why it took me forever to get that name. Officially signed a contract for $26.6 million for 4 years, his rookie contract. I think the rest of the contracts are also pending, but the numbers, let's take a quick look if I can share my screen really quick. Like the numbers right here are causing a little bit of a stir, because as you can see right here, and I don't know if the audience can see it properly, Luther Burden's number is number 87, and apparently there's some mixed reviews with that. Personally, I think that 87 is fine. I don't think that it's anything crazy. There's some certain positions where numbers like that should not be allowed, but I feel like 87, like having an 80 number and being a receiving threat, is okay. But let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on the jersey number? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know.
I don't mind it. I mean, it's a jersey number. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about like aura, whatever. Randy Moss was 84, wasn't he? Wasn't Jerry Rice
Yeah.
also in the 80s as well? I think a lot of receivers back in the day. I think what it is that it's outdated. I think if this was like the 90s or early 2000s, there wouldn't be as much hoopla with 87. But everyone wants to hop on the bandwagon of 12 and 13, and I don't know. I feel like that kind of started with like Julio Jones or Odell Beckham or something like that, maybe. But I mean, 87 for Luther Burden, and even if that's not like the popular choice, Burden has a chance to kind of make that popular. What if he ends up being a star receiver in this league? What if he ends up being like our Amon-Ra? And then now rookies later on or players later on are gonna, take 87 into consideration as, this is a really good, player that wears this number, and now you're putting him in the 80s conversations with other great receivers that have come before him. And I believe, I keep forgetting his first name, Muhammad, or that used to play for the Bears. Receiver. He also was, I forget his first name, or maybe I can't pronounce it, but I believe he was also 87 for us too.
I think so.
I mean, I think I was seeing that earlier today. So I don't mind it. 87, he has a chance to make that like his own staple. So if he does that, I mean, I'm still gonna buy his jersey. I don't care. He could have put number -5 on there. I would still buy his jersey. So I don't mind it. I like the different route. I want to know why he chose it. That'd be cool. Like, someone ask him that. Maybe that means something to him. Maybe 1987 is an important year for him somehow. I don't know. Maybe we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it's just a simple answer. I mean, I feel like I don't really care what number he has, man. As long as he balls, man. Like,
right.
as long as he, makes an impact to the team, he can wear like you said, a negative number. I don't really care. Obviously, I think, it's an interesting number. Obviously, usually we see like tight ends use 80s, but yeah, it's fine. Like, I'm fine. I don't really care what their number is. As long as he makes an impact, is that receiver for us, is a dog, like Ben Johnson says, I'm okay with it, man.
Yeah, it was honestly like with Caleb Williams. I think I heard the same thing last year with number 18. People didn't want him wearing 18, and then you go back in history and you see Peyton Manning wear 18, but everybody wants to talk about Tom Brady's 12 or Aaron Rodgers 12. It's like,
or his 13.
Yeah, let the man have his own number. Burden and Caleb have a chance to sort of rewrite history with their numbers, and I like it. Don't put yourself in the same conversation as all these different players that have worn the exact same number and just wash and rinse and repeat.
Right, exactly. Advaith, do you have anything to add to it? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So I mean, for me, I kind of don't like it. It kind of lacks aura. But again, I mean, if you look back in the day, 80s were the common thing. I mean, up until recently, it was double digits. So I mean, I wish he had 3. Unfortunately, that's kind of retired to, I believe, Bronco Nugoski. So obviously he can't be wearing that number anymore. But I mean, I have a feeling that he will change it. I feel like, they said on their post that this is subject to change.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said that.
It's
So I
always
do
subject
feel
to
like,
change, I think, before the season begins.
yes. Like Roshan Johnson, for example, I think he wore 30, and then before the season he changed it to like 23 or something.
Yeah, to Hester's number.
So I feel like, maybe the Bears are working behind the scenes to maybe get that Bronco jersey retired. But I mean, 87 is not that bad of a number. It's a pretty dope number.
Yeah.
Just on a fast receiver, on someone who's going to stretch the field and go zip, zip, zip. I don't know if 87 fits that, but who knows? I'm not Luka Burden. I don't really have the choice to fill that out. But yeah, I mean, the rest of the numbers are pretty dope too. I like 84 for Colston, 75 for Ozzy. When you think about, hey, Kyle Long wore that number, 95 for Turner. We have some great defensive tackles that have worn that number. Roy Robinson Harris wore that number, I believe. And then 29. 20 is a good number. 25 is Derrick Rose's former number, so that's
what I was gonna say. Yeah, it was like
our 7th round running back, and then 85, Cody Whitehair. I mean, some bad juju, but hey, Cody Whitehair, Colson Loveland, some bad juju. But hey, hopefully that guy can rewrite the ship. But yeah, I mean, I think the rest of the numbers are fine. I do have a feeling that Luka's gonna change it though, so we'll see.
Yeah, like you guys all nailed it on the head. Like I'm okay with all these numbers, really. Like I really don't mind it, and apparently it was just a conversation that people were having, and I just wanted you guys' opinion. But I really did like, my favorite one is definitely 25 for Manangai, just because it is. He probably didn't mean it to be, but it just internally, I like to say that it was for Derrick Rose and Simeon. So it's just like a little bit of a tribute in my mind. But then again, who knows what he had his reasons for that. But there was and now that that's over, we're going to quickly talk about minicamp coming up soon. And on the 14th of May, we will have the official schedule for the Chicago Bears coming out.
Oh my gosh.
I am very nervous about one
Me
week
too.
specifically, and that is the first week.
Yep.
Because, oh my God, if we get paired with the Eagles for the first game of the season, I'm going to be like,
yeah.
That's just awful way to start. Like, genuinely, because it could be either the greatest thing or the worst thing. There's no in between, at least in my mind, because if we go into the link, beat the reigning defending champions in their home turf with the team that we have to start the season, that is Bears Nation will literally erupt. Unlike, it will literally, like, Super Bowl will be in the question for some reason. And then the other hand, where it's like we get absolutely decimated or we lose. I'm not saying decimated because we have a better team than we did, but like we just get outclassed due to the fact that they were a better team. So I want your guys' quick thoughts, because we're going to have to get into winners and losers soon. So quick thoughts on, the schedule, and, maybe if the Eagles play the Bears soon.
Yeah, week one, like you said, man, I'm super, super scared of week one, man. Oh my gosh. I mean, I really hope it's not the Eagles. And honestly, I think there is a chance we get decimated, and it's not because of the fact that they're that much better of a team than we are. It's because of the fact that for the past few years that we've added a bunch of players to our team, it takes time for the team to gel together. You can add all these great players. They haven't played together, and chemistry is a much bigger thing than people like to talk about. So when it comes to the Bears, especially on the offensive line with Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman, and Jonah Jackson, they could be very good players. They've never played together. And when you're going against Vic Fangio and that stout Eagles defense, and you're going to have to communicate which side you go off of and kind of, communicate sort of telepathically the way you guys see like the Eagles offensive line, the way they do, that's not going to happen week one. It's probably not going to happen until probably week 4 or 5. So there is a very good chance that this is a pretty bad game for us. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the story of the season. It just means that, okay, well, you're a new team. There's a lot of new pieces, some rookies here and there. It's going to happen. People are going to get used to each other. The schemes, obviously, you're going to have to come into play because Ben Johnson, as good of a scheme caller, as play caller he should be, this is a new scheme. So players are going to have to learn to run his scheme. And Eagles didn't change much from last year. And I just see this being a bloodbath. If we do get paired up with them, all I really hope is that we stay competitive. If we lose by no more than 2 possessions, like 10 points, honestly, that's a victory for me. You're telling me that you got within 10 points of the defending Super Bowl champions who absolutely decimated the Chiefs.
Mhm.
Count me in. I mean, week 1 with that many new players, with a brand new head coach or rookie head coach, count me in with a 10-point loss. I would be ecstatic with that, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, if we could see some semblance in offense, and hey, listen, like with the new head coach, with Matt Eberflus, we were able to somehow, with the help of a monsoon, beat
Yeah.
beat the 49ers. But will we get that luck in Philly? Probably not. But then again, I do understand what you mean. But I feel like if we do have that statement win, Ben Johnson's not new to facing a tough opponent week 1. He, like you said, did it against the Chiefs opening night football, and he could make it history. Instead of being an offensive coordinator, he can be the head coach and go into defending champions territory and win the game. But any last minute thoughts, Ankit or Advait?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll go quick here. 2 years ago, the Lions opened up against the Chiefs right after they won the Super Bowl, I believe. And that's kind of what catapulted, really Ben Johnson's career. The Lions is big turnaround. So, I mean, in the fact that they played the Chiefs week 1, they beat them, was a big reason on why they were so successful. And I think that unlike in years past when we've had, pretty bad head coaches that have not had this team prepared, Ben is going to have them prepared on day 1. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know if it'll be the Eagles, but if it is, Ben will have them ready, and hopefully we give them a game and win it.
Yeah, that's fair. Anything to add, Slashing or Ankit? Yeah.
I'm just excited. I always get excited with the schedule release. I actually disagree. I think honestly, it could be a good thing if we play the Eagles first week. I feel like week 1, in my opinion, is always meaningless. Like it didn't really matter for last season. We won week 1. Like, I mean, honestly, if we get it out of the way against the Eagles, it is where it is. Because we won last year, went 4-2, and rest is history. So it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I'm fine with it. If we go play the Eagles in the link, and if we win, it's a high reward. So I'm excited. I think I just want football to start. So I think the schedule release is one step closer to football starting for again back in September thing. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on it.
Adding
was
one more
excited
point
for-
too.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to add one more quick point too. We actually did face the Eagles back in 23 or 22, and their team hasn't changed much since then. So, and we came pretty close with Justin Fields in that year that we went 3-14.
Mhm.
We thought that game was going to be a slaughter too. So I think Slashing does actually make a point there. And going into that game, I actually saw his tweet recently where we had like N'Keal Harry as like our starting wide receiver
yeah.
one or something like that. Like that week was the worst group of starting wide receivers, and within 2 minutes of that game, like we were down like 5 points. Like it was like 25-20 against a team that I think went to the Super Bowl actually that year, and they lost. And the team hasn't changed much since then. They had AJ Brown, they had I don't think they had Devontae Smith yet, maybe they did, but they had Jalen Hurts.
They did.
They did. Okay, so then they had him. They had Jalen Hurts. They had the offensive line. They didn't have Saquon. They didn't have Jalen Carter, but they had a really stacked team. Obviously, they went to the bowl that year. So, there is a chance. I mean, Slashing does make a good point there.
Yeah, I mean,
agree.
Saquon does change things a little bit. But I mean, he's not impossible to stop, especially when you have a guy like Dennis Allen, when we have, a good decent defensive line. Hopefully, he does get better as the season progresses. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think we have a good chance in beating them week 1. If there's any team that can beat them in week 1, I think it's probably us.
That's fair. But yeah, I guess we can now get on to our second half of the show. I know it took a little bit while, but we had some great discussions at the end of the day, so I didn't mind that.
Absolutely.
So before we get into that, remember, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot. Really helps to create content like this for you guys. Always remember I'll put the links to everyone in the chat in the description down below. Feel free to subscribe to the channel's great content that they're making over there. Yeah, let's get on with the winners of the NFL draft, because I know the draft was it happened 2 weeks ago or so. I felt like ages ago. Who wants to start first with their first winner? And we'll kind of go around in a circle, kind of pick a team that they thought won the draft, and then we'll just go around from there.
I'll start off. If I have to go with one team, I picked a couple teams here. I'll start off with the Browns, the Cleveland Browns being my winner. I think they won what a lot of people for some reason criticized them heavily for, which was not staying put and taking Travis Hunter and instead trading back. Guys, they got a second round pick and a future first from a team that is most likely going to finish bottom 10 next year. You know, if anything, I don't know why the Jags aren't getting more crap for what they did, because think about it like this, right? Let's say Travis Hunter ends up being both a great receiver and a great corner. Amazing too, right? But there's one team that I can think of that has a pretty good receiver and a pretty good corner. The Bears. We have DJ Moore. We have Jalen Johnson. What did that do for us? 5 wins. You know, the Jags don't have a complete roster. They don't have that roster to where they're like, man, our secondary is so bad. Our receivers are so bad. We need to make this move and this will turn around our franchise. Maybe in the long run, sure. And it keeps you from having to address 2 positions at once. But I think for the Browns, I love this move because you're not competing for a ring, obviously, this year, and probably not for the next 2 or 3 years, at least until you get rid of Deshaun Watson. And on top of that, you don't even trade that far back. You move 3 spots back and select Mason Graham, who I'm really high on. And so you're telling me that for what the general media is saying, that Mason Graham, a second-round pick, which, by the way, was an early second-round pick, and I believe a 4th-round pick and a 1st-round pick is more than Travis Hunter? I mean,
right.
He's playing 2 non-premium positions. You know, if this was somehow like quarterback and edge rusher or some crazy combination of the 2, whatever, then sure. But neither receiver or neither corner are considered premium positions. And if he could be a very good player, honestly, you really could. And I would honestly love for that. I would love that for him. On the Jags, giving up a future first on a team that is nowhere near competing. I'm not a believer in Trevor Lawrence. If he was generational, we would have seen it by now. I don't think the coaching and general management is doing a good job for him, setting up either way to succeed. I think the Browns are going to walk away victorious out of here. And who knows, if the Jags are really bad next year and they keep getting this injury bug that they keep getting every year, who knows if that pick ends up turning out to be Arch Manning? You know, what if that ends up being a high enough pick to where they can maybe grab a top quarterback, or I forget his name from Penn State, but you know, people are talking about him too as well.
Drew Aller?
Yes, Drew Aller. You know, what if one of those guys ends up falling to the Browns all because the Jags wanted to trade for a flashy pick? In my opinion, I think they won that draft. And, you know, just to go really quick here, they got Carson Schweizinger, which I really like, their linebacker. 2 running backs was amazing. They got Harold Fannin, who was probably like my second favorite tight end in the draft. Shador Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, we'll see how they turn out. I don't think that's going to keep them from drafting a quarterback in the 1st round if they have a chance to next year. They re-signed some key pieces. The most notable, in my opinion, is my boy, Tevin Jenkins. Forever a bear in my heart, man. I wish he would have worked out in Chicago, but obviously it didn't. But yeah, man, time will tell, but I think the Browns did win this draft, in my opinion. Sorry, it was a little longer than I wanted to be, though.
No worries.
All right.
Yeah, who wants to go next with their winner?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go quick. My winner, I think, is an obvious one. I'm going with the Patriots. I think the Patriots, I think they clearly won the draft, right? I really like their Will Campbell pick. You know, he's really inspirational. I mean, you saw the thing. He said he'll die on the field with his teammates, so that's great. I mean, I think they needed to protect Drake May. I mean, I feel like they really believe in him, and he had a pretty solid year last year, so I like the pick. I like the Travion Henderson pick. I think that's my favorite pick they had because that's a guy I really wanted at the
Yep.
Bears draft, but great player from Ohio State. And then I think I also like their I like how they like address every position that they needed. They got a wide receiver, a center, a safety. They literally revamped their whole team, and I really trust what Vrabel is doing for this team and really making this team good enough for Drake May to succeed, getting tackles. I think they went more, and they also got a center. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I really like the Will Campbell pick, Travion Henderson pick, but not sure about like the round 6 and round 7 picks. I'm a casual when it comes to like college football, but I know like the top like first and second round picks. So I'm going with the Patriots winning the draft. And then real quick about like I just wanted to say like kind of like rebuttal what you said about Trevor Lawrence. Because I actually like the Jags doing the Travis Hunter pick because I think Travis Hunter, if he works out, which I think he will, it's basically like you said, getting 2 players in one, and that could be very, very good because I mean you're getting Trevor Lawrence, another receiver, and Travis Hunter, pairing him up with
Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, like he's really good. That guy's a stud. And I feel like this is the year, and we saw what Liam Cohen did with Baker Mayfield. I mean, we thought his career was down in the dust, and then Baker Mayfield has one of his best years of his career. And I still think Trevor Lawrence has what it takes to be a franchise quarterback. We saw what he did against the Chargers. Yes, he had a bad like first half, but he came back, beat the Chargers, and then he put a really good fight against the Chiefs in 2022. And then I think just injuries really caught up to him. And last year he was out. So I really do think that the Jags next season will be a better team. And I really like the Liam Cohen hire, and I think he's gonna definitely help Trevor Lawrence. But yeah, you could be right. Maybe the Jags do fall apart, but I think that a lot of people are hating on that Travis Hunter, but I feel like sometimes you got to make a big pick, a big splash for the team to work, and I think this could really help Trevor Lawrence next year grow, take that next leap, which we really all like thought it would happen because we all thought he was a generational quarterback. But yeah, that's just my stance on that.
They better do good next year because
Yeah.
I don't know first round picks. So hopefully,
Yeah,
that's
they'll be
true.
right.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, you want to go next, Advaith?
Sure, I'll go. Yeah, no, I agree with Slashing. I think the Patriots are number one, the best winner in this entire NFL draft. I love how they went and approached their draft, drafting Will Campbell, and then going in and getting Travion Henderson. I really wanted him pretty badly, but it's okay. It happens. Ty Williams, the guy that the Bears were interested in from Washington State, he basically cooked Travis Hunter when Washington State played Colorado. Then to go and get a guy like Jared Wilson at Georgia, who has experience playing in those big lights, protecting Stetson Bennett, being in a pretty big program at Georgia. I love that pick. Greg Whitson, I really know too much about this pick. I think he was drafted a bit higher than he should have, according to the mocks. Joshua Farmer, a great pick, an edge pick from Florida State. Florida State didn't really have the best season this year with Mike Norvell, I believe. It really wasn't the best season, but I think Joshua Farmer is good. He gives them some good interior pressure. Braden Swinson was an amazing pick. From LSU, someone that I wanted the Bears to get, but we didn't. A guy that's going to come up the edge. He is a little bit smaller, I believe, which is why he fell. But going to a guy like Mike Vrabel, who knows the defense, I think will only be better. And then to go and get Andre Borges, I think he's a kicker from Miami. He was pretty good at Miami. He was one of the top kickers, so to go in and get him secure that kicking position was pretty good. Don't really know a whole lot about Marcus Bryant or Jared Ansby or Kawhi Minor. But I thought it was a really, really solid draft for the Patriots, and I think they are big, big, big winners. Even the offseason too, getting Mike Vrabel, I'd say us and the Patriots are one of the best winners. And I'll get into my best winners later.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can go to mine. It's kind of crazy for me to say this, especially with the big trade that the Chicago Bears have done. I will say the Carolina Panthers actually had a pretty good draft, and I think like from a perspective of seeing what you had at the end of the last season with Bryce Young, and to kind of build off of that is a really good focus for this draft class. And we were expecting that they were going to take like Jalen Walker with the 8th pick or whatnot, and they ended up taking Teteroa McMillan as a wide receiver for Bryce Young. So that means that his wide receiver room is Teteroa McMillan, Xavier Legette, and I think like Adam Thielen. So that's a pretty solid wide receiver room.
And Hunter Renfrow.
Oh, Hunter Renfrow. I forgot they got Hunter Renfrow. And that's a pretty nice weapons for Bryce Young going into next season. And another key pick that I think is really good that they made was the following one, which Nick Scaronton from Texas A&M. I was so mad that they took him before we did. Was it before we did, or I'm not really sure. But the fact that they took him kind of stung me a little bit. I was like, oh, dang, that could have been so good for the Chicago Bears because he was one of the picks that I really wanted. And then in the 3rd round, they took another edge from Mississippi. I'm not going to try to even pronounce his last name, but it was Princely. Yeah, I can't pronounce it. But yeah, so they addressed the 2 edge positions that they need because they were trying to, focus on getting more pressure on the quarterback. I'd love what they did at the end, getting a running back, Trevor Etienne from Georgia, brother of Travis Etienne, Latham Ransom from Ohio State, safety, defensive tackle, tight end, and wide receiver. And what's funny is because they have Jimmy Horn and they have a JC Horn as well. So, but offense and defense. And then again, it's not the most flashy near the end of the rounds, but I think like it's very top heavy. They did what they needed to do in the first 2 rounds specifically, or the first 3 rounds really. And I think that's going to bode well going into next season because they just have to keep building that team. I think they have to recover from that trade that they've made. They've been really, having Bryce Young, flourish a little bit at the end of the season really did help them and really gave them a little bit of hope going into next season. And this draft was nothing short of like helping that case. So I think that's a really good pick. And I think Carolina did pretty well from their perspective in their draft. And that's why they're one of my winners. Want to go to CeeVee next for the next winner? We'll do another round and then go to our losers.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Raiders next. And it pains me to say this because, I think I tried lying to myself that Ashton Genty would be a terrible pick for them because they didn't have anything else. Mm-hmm. And maybe this was a mixture of me, maybe trying to like mentally manifest them passing on Ashton Genty or trading back with us for like a 3rd round pick or something ridiculous, because they didn't have a receiver. They could use offensive line help. Their only main weapon is Brock Bowers. Geno Smith is an older quarterback. Who knows how much he has left in the tank. And then you remember they have the rest of the draft, which they had a lot of picks. If I counted up here, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, they had a lot of draft picks.
Yeah, they were always on the board, I swear.
Yeah. And what's helpful is that they had a lot of picks between rounds 1 through 4. And that's actually most of their draft. So you get Ashton Genty, obviously a great running back, obviously the player that almost everybody in Chicago wanted. And that's pretty much where the draft died for me, unfortunately. But then you go ahead and you get Jack Beck or Betch. I don't know if that's.
I think it's Beck.
Yeah, I think it's Beck. Out of TCU, you'll go ahead and get your wide receiver next to Jacoby Myers. And, he's not your Justin Jefferson or anything, but if you could be a solid receiver and at least give something of a weapon next to Brock Bowers, that's going to be your Justin Jefferson right there because Brock Bowers is already, in my opinion, a top 5 tight end in this league. And with Geno Smith, he did it with Gardner Minshew. Imagine what he's going to do with a huge upgrade at Geno Smith. And, it's going to be an amazing thing. And then you get Darian Porter, who is honestly my 3rd favorite corner. or maybe my fourth if you're including Travis Hunter in there. I had Will Johnson and Trey Amos above him. But Darian Porter, an athletic monster out of Iowa State, 6'3", he's kind of like a better version of Zay Frazier, the guy we drafted. But he'll actually play corner most likely. I really like that pick. And then when you think, oh well, they still need offensive line. Oh, they double down on that in the third round. Don't worry about it. Back-to-back picks. They'll get Caleb Rogers out of Texas Tech and Charles Grant out of Williams and Mary, who I was really high on as well. So it's like, oh, damn, okay, I was stupid. They actually went ahead and they got their running back, and they were actually able to surround that offense with some talent. You know, their cornerbacks, they didn't have any. They went ahead and got Darian Porter, who, you know, is still a very raw prospect. You know, there's a reason why he fell to the third round, but it's better than nothing. You know, you go ahead and get Dante Thornton Jr. out of Tennessee, and the rest of the draft picks I don't really know much about. They're most likely fillers. Now this team also is not competing, but what I do like is I really feel that this team is preparing for the next quarterback, whoever that might be, maybe whether that's next year, whether they trade for somebody else. Geno Smith, we know, is not the future of that franchise, but he can definitely be a great stopping gap and to at least make this team somewhat watchable, so they're not like the bottom of their division every year and getting curb stomped by the Chiefs every year. So I really like their draft. I unfortunately think they won, as much as I want to lie to myself and say that they didn't, because I'm super pissed about Ashton Genty, and I really hope now that he doesn't do good anymore because I'm really salty at this point. But yeah, the Raiders definitely did have a really good draft, and they are a winner in my book.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfectly fair. I really wanted Ashton Genty as well. I'm pretty sure a lot of Bears fans talked themselves into that too. But yeah, I mean, yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna work out in the Raiders. Like I actually don't know. Like I think that was a dumb pick. I still think that the Raiders needed to like at least like I don't know. They had so many holes. Like getting a running back is crazy, and also like I don't know that offensive line. I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe Pete Carroll knows something because he had Marshawn Lynch.
Right.
He had beast mode. But anyways, my second winner, I'm going with the New York Jets.
Ooh, okay.
All right, first, I love the pick. I think it was one of the most obvious picks that they were going to get. I think they were linked to this guy, Armand Membu. One of my favorite tackles in the draft. I think he is the real deal. And I mean, that offensive line last year, they got Olufashanu last year. Really good tackle. They have one of the best. I think the Jets have really built this offensive line, and what Aaron Glenn likes to do, and I think what he's going to do is run the football and run like a play action. They have I don't know how to say his name, but it's like Tanner something on the Lions. He's like the passing game coordinator. He was now. He's the OC.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Tanner Ents. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like he's good. I think he's gonna be great for Justin Fields. For the Jets, and I think they're gonna have a good offense next year. And then another thing is I like the Mason Taylor pick. Getting a good tight end for blocking. He was a pretty good blocking tight end at LSU. I like that. And then they needed I think they got rid of DJ Reed. So in the third round they got Azir Thomas. Yep. I don't know too much about him, but
he's good.
I think he's good. Okay.
Yeah,
getting a corner is very important to pair him up with Sauce Gardner. They needed a lot of help in the secondary. So I really like that. And I think this is going to be a really good team next year. I don't know if they're going to be a playoff team. Maybe they will. But I think they can compete in that division. I still think it's the Bills division. But, you know, they can definitely compete with the second spot. I think Miami got worse. I think the Patriots, they're still a very young team. And then, what else? Yeah. Those are only two teams. So, like, I think they can compete for the second spot. I like it. I like what Aaron Glenn's doing. And yeah, so I think the Jets are the second team. Sorry, my second draft winner.
Yeah, I didn't even look into that. Yeah, that was actually a really good point. I looked at Armand Membu and then Mason Taylor. I'm like, oh shit, that's right. They got Thomas from Florida State. I'm like, wait a second, it's not bad. They're an underrated winner.
Sleeper picks when it comes to the draft. And it was kind of under the radar because it is the Jets. So right. It's like, yeah, that's fair. All right, Advaith, you want to go next?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to sound pretty cringy, but I have to give it to the Bears. I mean, I think we killed it in the draft. Yes, to lose the Burden pick, still, it kind of seems, hey, are there too many cooks in the kitchen? But it's a great pick considering that last year, Caleb's main receiver was DJ Moore, a little bit of Keenan Allen, but you have to replace Keenan Allen. You didn't really target that into the agency. You got Colson Loveland, who's going to give Ben that 12 personnel. You got Ozzie Newsome, who, if he pans out the way he can, eventually taking over Braxton's spot is a really, really good thing. I like the Sherman Turner pick. The only reason and why he kind of fell off was he was dealing with a leg injury. I think he had a contusion or something. But he's a guy that's played at DT at edge. He was going to start had Shaman Stewart not transferred in. The Ruben Hippolyte, I still don't know why we did that. I wish we had gone and then got like an edge. Then I think would be the one of the biggest winners. Braden Swinson would have been a great pick. And then, getting the cornerbacks that we did, getting Kyle Monangai in the 7th, getting, offensive lineman from Michigan State. I thought we killed it. Zoff Fraser, hopefully he can take over Tyreek Stevenson's spot. He's faster, maybe a little bit more bigger and more athletic than Stevenson is. And while Stevenson has an attitude problem, hope he gets that fixed. But I like the Bears' pick. I know it sounds cliche. I know it's like, oh yeah, you're just upping up the Bears, but I really liked it personally. And we have a good coaching staff for once that is going to utilize his talent and take it in to the next step. Like that's the biggest reason why I love our job so much. The fact that we have one of the best coaching staffs, the new coaching staffs, aside from maybe the Patriots.
Very fair.
I still think Tyree Stevens is gonna be good. I don't know. I think he just had a slump last year. Like I don't know. Like that's just me. I think I like Zoff Frazier, but he's fast. But I still hope. I still hope that Tyree Stevenson's still that dude because I saw what he did his rookie season, and even like the first 6 games, he was still like really really good. So I mean, I think the Commanders game really like took him out of that season. But I think with Al Harris, like I like him because he's from the Cowboys. DB coach. I really like him a lot. I think Stevenson's gonna be good, but I do agree with you. Zoff Frazier, he's very, very fast. I heard so. Maybe he does
4.3, 640.
I just hope I still have a lot of hope in Tyree Stevenson though. I think he's that dude. I don't know. He's still good.
It creates the competition.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
I'll let you go.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say I completely agree. I think the common theme with the Chicago Bears and their draft picks near the later rounds is, are they fast? If yes, if your score is above a 9.5 RAS, we'll pick you. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I like it. And you made a lot of great points. We'll have to see, and I think we'll have to trust Ben Johnson with his intuition. I definitely trust that more than me or anyone else really. So, but yeah, let's go and get on to my last winner, and that is okay. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to give an honorable mention a little bit because we have to get on to the losers part of it. But honorable mention, I'm going to say the Cowboys had a really good draft. I think they addressed a little bit of everything when it comes to the draft. If I can remember exactly. Oh yeah, they obviously Tyler Booker, seemed like an pick at the time, but I feel like solidifying that offensive line was going to be very important. They got Azaraku from Boston College. And then they just added on to the various parts that they need, whether it's offensive tackle, defensive tackle, near the end of the rounds. I think they had a pretty solid draft. I think, building that offensive line full of Tylers definitely going to help a lot when it comes to, name conventions and stuff, hiding stuff. But my main winner, and I'm going to go more into it, is definitely the Tennessee Titans. And I think, I know it's very under the radar. They were the number 1 pick. No, they're going to pick the best player available. But I think that, for Cam Ward's sake, and the fact that the Tennessee Titans were not necessarily too hyped after they picked, they were essentially, all right, let's move on to the next pick. That's great for Cam Ward because that offensive line last year with Will Levis was already starting to solidify. He was actually pretty solid. And now they just continue to add on, a tight end, And then I think they added some offensive line help in free agency, if I'm not mistaken.
Dan Moore
Um,
and Kevin Zeitler.
Yeah, exactly. So like they're definitely created that offensive line and helping for Cam Ward. And then they add on like they got Kevin Winston Jr. from Penn State.
Yeah.
I think that's a really solid addition to their defense. And then they picked in with the edge rusher Oladejo from UCLA, adding to that defense. I really like Gunnar Helm as a tight end. Like he's really good from Texas. So they have themselves a team a little bit. And I think, you know, Brian Callahan in his second season as the head coach after going through the debacle that was, his first rookie season with Will Levis, Mason Rudolph as a QB carousel. I think that Cam Ward is going to be a better prospect. Not much pressure for the number 1 overall pick due to the fact that Shedeur Sanders was the main focal point of this draft. And you're in a very relatively easy division too. Like the only really big contender is literally the Texans, and they had a very rough year per se. So I think that this is a really good pick for them. But let's get on with the losers of the. And let's kind of do a quick fire because we hit an hour. But let's talk about some losers right now.
Yeah, I want to go with the. I wanted to go with a couple others, but I think one loser is the Commanders. I'm gonna be honest. I think they had a chance really to take their team to the next like tier, and they didn't have a lot of draft picks. They only had 5 because of trading for Laremy Tunsil, which I don't think was super necessary. And then they traded for Deebo Samuel to another sort of like, okay, cool, but your offense was already fine. You're the reason why Jaden Daniels was having such a magical season last year, and so their offense was definitely good. They did nothing to address their run game in terms of their defensive run stopping. They did nothing to address that. Their pass rushing, they did nothing to address that. They didn't draft not a single edge rusher. They didn't draft a single defensive tackle. Their first round pick was spent on another tackle. Sure, build the offensive line, but once again, your offensive line was solid last year. I'm not really sure why you go ahead and go that route when you have Nick Scorton on the board, when you have Princely on the board, when you have a couple other guys that honestly I would have rather if I was a Commanders fan, I would have rather them gone really any of the best available defensive linemen in there. And cool, they're going to have a great offense, but their defense is going to remind me a lot of the Bengals last year. A team that's going to score 40 points a game, but their defense is going to let up 60 points. So, how many wins is that going to, equate to, especially when Jaden Daniels, maybe gets figured out, or, if he keeps playing as dangerous as he does, he's going to get hurt, and he's already had that happen once last season. So that relies on that offense being good, because if it doesn't, and God forbid they have a sophomore slump with Jaden Daniels, man, that's going to be rough for them, because, when it comes to the playoffs, they're going to have to face, once again, Saquon Barkley, as they already did twice a year. And it's going to be the same story with him running for over 200 yards and, 16 touchdowns against them. And, it's going to be hell. And they didn't went ahead and I would have thought they would have gone that route, but they didn't. So I'm really disappointed in the Commanders, because they had a chance to really at least beef up some part of their issue. And instead they went ahead by not addressing it at all. So I don't get that.
That's fair. All right, who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll go quick. I think the Falcons. I think the Falcons are losers because they gave up a first round pick, I think, to get James Pierce Jr. And I don't know. I don't know if James Pierce Jr. is that good to like trade up.
Your mic is. Wait, is your mic there?
My bad.
Okay, I was gonna say. I was like,
yeah, brought it. All right, so what I was gonna say is I think the Falcons are one of my biggest losers because they traded up in the first round, I think, to the Rams, and they got an edge with James Pierce Jr. Now I think James Pierce Jr. could be good, but like I don't know, giving up a first round pick, like, and we're saying like giving up a first round pick with Travis is not that good. I just don't think that giving up a first round pick for James Pierce Jr. when there was definitely good talent in the second round is worth it. I'm not really high on him. I don't think he's that good. But again, maybe the Falcons are cooking something because they did get Jalen Walker. So maybe, you bolster up that defensive line, which was a big problem for them last year. Because Judon's really old. Maybe it's a good pick in the long run, but I don't know. Giving up a first round pick's not that good. And then I think they got a safety, Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. Solid pick, but I don't know. Like, I think their safety tandem was fine with who did they have?
Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons.
Yeah. I think their safety tandem is fine. Like, I didn't see any problem with that. But again, it's never bad to get like more. But like, I don't know. They went full defense here, which I feel like they should have went more offense in this draft. They, help build up Michael Penix. But yeah, I think I don't know. They have to hope that their season goes well next season, because like you said, the Jags and like the Falcons, they don't have first round picks anymore in the 2026 draft. So yeah, I think the Falcons are one of my biggest losers in this draft.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I mean, for me, there's a lot. I feel like the biggest one. I'm not sure I'm between two teams, and I'll start with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep.
Yes, I agree. You got to give props to them. They did address the defense. However, big however, I don't think that Shamar Stewart was the right pick for them. And let me listen. Shamar Stewart has all the intangibles of being a good edge rusher in this league. The issue is he went to the Bengals. And what is the main problem with the Bengals? Is that they don't develop their defense properly. Shamar Stewart needs that development to be successful in this league, because he, if I remember correctly, hasn't had a lot of snaps, or am I confusing with someone else? Like, I think that he's an edge rusher that needs to be developed more. He needs like that system that, like how Jalen Carter went to. I'm not saying that they're both the same, apples to apples. I'm just saying a player needs a good system around him to flourish and develop. Like with anything, I think Shamar Stewart really needs that with Cincy. And I don't think Cincy has the facilities or a structure that's already sound to bring in a project like Shamar Stewart. And I'm not saying like Shamar Stewart is completely like, he has no talent whatsoever, that they've reached insanely high on them. He's still top, like a first round, like early second round pick. It's just that to the Bengals was a little bit of a thing, because you had Nick Scranton available. You had a bunch of other edge rusher options. I just think Shamar Stewart wasn't that pick that they should have made given their current circumstances. They did make some picks after Demetrius Knight Jr. from South Carolina, and some offensive tackle stuff. I just think that their draft was relatively weak compared to everything. And yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Shamar Stewart had the raw traits for defensive upside, and I don't think they should have bet the upside. Really, that's just me. But yeah, we want to go to the next round of losers now.
I guess I can start off since
Okay.
But so for me, I'll go with it being. I actually have three. I mean, I agree with the Bengals. Like, I didn't really like the Sherman Stewart pick. I think that it was like, here's a lot of raw intangibles. And I know we say it in the past about, hey, the Bengals can't really develop defensive guys. They have a new defensive head coach in Al Golden, who coached at Notre Dame, who Notre Dame was known for having a good defense. So I think that he's gonna help him out. And I think that if he saw, hey, I like this guy a lot, I'm gonna go and get him. But he was also at Texas A&M, a really, really good defensive school, and he didn't really do anything. So the Bengals are one, and then I think the Cleveland Browns. Sorry, CeeVee, I gotta disagree with you. I didn't like. I liked trading down, getting a first round pick. I like the Carson Sittinger pick. It's a great pick. I like the Quincy Jenkins pick. It's a great pick. But then after, like, what happened here, Harold Franklin is a good pick. Dylan Gabriel, I felt, why in round 3, I felt I was a bit overdrafted. Dylan Sampson, you just drafted a running back. Dylan Sampson and Judkins are both those speedsters. So I mean, like, what is the plan here that Kevin Stefanski has? And then with the last pick, they went and got Shadur Sanders. I mean, like, what is the plan here? Like, who's going to start? Is it going to be Dylan Gabriel, Sanders? Is it going to be Joe Flacco? Is it going to be Joe Flacco? There's someone else I'm forgetting. So I don't really get their whole plan, so I'm gonna go with the Browns. And then my last one is the Steelers, and I think the George Pickens trade makes them losers. They didn't target a single wide receiver. If they knew, hey, we were gonna trade George Pickens, I feel like they would have done that. So I think the Steelers are losers. I think they probably should have gone and selected Shadur Sanders. Maybe not in round 1 or round 2, but round 5, why not? That being said, the quarterback they drafted is going to be really, really good. He was at Ohio State. So I really like that pick. But I don't really know what the Steelers were doing. So I think those are my 3 losers.
Fair enough.
For me, I mean, I think I'm gonna go a little unique here. I don't got a team. I got a player, and his name is Shadur Sanders. Biggest loser in this draft was Shadur Sanders. Like,
Oh boy.
getting prank called. First of all, like, he got prank called by Jeff Albrecht's son. That's one of them. And second of all, like, I don't know how a guy that goes from like a top 5 prospect. I mean, like, I think he was a top 5 prospect going into the draft. Like, he was, or like a top 10 pick. I thought he was, he was gonna go there, and he doesn't get drafted in day 1. Then he doesn't get drafted in day 2 and 3. And I'll be honest, I think some of the teams are kind of stupid. I mean, I get it. He's not like hasn't had a good attitude, but I mean, Tyler Shuck over Shador is just crazy. And what's the name? Jackson Dart. I mean, the fact that the Giants traded up to get Jackson Dart is just blows my mind. And then another thing is, like, I just feel like this could be a really good thing for Shador because, again, you have to, like, it's going to be a battle for him to start. He has to make the team now. He's not guaranteed. Like, if you're a first overall pick or like top 10 pick, you're going to make the team. So that's a really uncertainty for him. But just another thing is, like, money. Like, that's another thing. Like, a lot of these players, but it's where you get drafted. It's like how much you're going to get paid, right? And he went from a guaranteed like millionaire to now like making like 500,000, which, again, great money. Like, that's top 1% of the America. So it is great money. But obviously for NFL players, like, getting drafted and the talent that Shador is, that's low for him. And obviously I think he's one of the biggest losers in the draft. But again, this could be a good thing because one of the greats, Tom Brady, was drafted in the 6th round. So I'm not saying it's going to be Brady, but he could be good. And I think if the Browns I think what's going to happen is Flacco's going to start and then Shador's going to start after. I don't see any world where Dylan Gabriel starts over him. And I don't see any world where Kenny Pickett starts over Shador Sanders. I think Shador is going to be the 2nd pick.
Come on,
second,
man. You mean to tell me that Dylan Gabriel, you mean Oregon legend Dylan Gabriel would not have a chance to get the starting position?
I just think like, okay, my thing is, like, with, like, and again, I think, and it kind of ties to me with the Saints. It's like the Saints had 2 opportunities to draft Shador. Actually, no, 3, and they didn't draft him. They chose Tyler Shuck, a guy who was 26. Is he 26 or 25 years old? I don't know.
He's 26.
25.
Yeah, a 26-year-old over Shador Sanders. I feel like, in my opinion, it's just hatred towards him. I think he was good. I don't think he was better than Cam.
Yeah.
But there's just no way NFL teams thought that Jackson Dart, Tyler Shuck, Dylan Gabriel, and I think there was one more quarterback was better than Shador, in my opinion. I don't know. That's just my opinion, though. I think Shador is one of the biggest losers.
I will say there was 5 opportunities after Kelvin Banks that the Saints had to choose Shador Sanders. So he passed on him 5 times. So, and that's kind of funny because he was picked in the 5th round. So, like, if you play on words right there. But let's go CeeVee with your losers, and we'll go with me at the end.
Yeah, I'm actually going to play devil's advocate here. And this isn't necessarily a loser in terms of like the draft in totality. I think it's just a loser based on one specific trait here. And I'm just to preface this, I trust Ben Johnson and everything, but I think the Bears were losers in only the regard of how the draft board played out. And I think if you talk to anybody in the league, the draft board hated the Bears by far more than any other team in the NFL. I mean, the first 9 picks, I think, went about as bad as we all thought it could have. Like, I'm not even high on Kelvin Banks, but at that point at 9, I was actually starting to become content with it. I'm like, you know what? I'm not that high on him as a prospect, but I'm not a scout. I'm a casual. I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to scouting, I just got into college football. So if Ben Johnson thought that Kelvin Banks would be the next star left tackle, it's a premium position. Absolutely. I think number 10 at Colston Loveland, I think he's a better fit, than Tyler Warren. I still think Tyler Warren's a better tight end, but obviously it's all about scheme fit. I think that was sort of like a move that you were just like, we got to do something here. No Ashton Genty, no Armand Membu, no Kelvin Banks, no Will Campbell, no Mason Graham. I mean, it's like, dude, where could you have gone here? Maybe you could have traded back, sure, but do you really believe in anybody else back there? So I think the board just really hated the Bears. And then and then when you thought it was over, at least at 10, you're like, okay, cool. Well, I'll buy into Colston Loveland. I'll buy into the scheme or whatever. You get to pick 39. And at pick 38, the freaking Patriots steal my favorite second round player in Travion Henderson. And you're left like, holy crap. Again? Like, where are we going to go here? And you get Luther Burden, who's a stud. I love Luther Burden coming out of college. I've liked him for the past 2 years. And he's one of the few college players of this draft that I actually paid attention to for multiple years. But I think with tight end and wide receiver, these were floor-raising moves and not ceiling-raising moves. Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze were ceiling-raising moves. Hiring Ben Johnson was a ceiling-raising move. You already had enough receivers with DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, and Rome Odunze. Colston Loveland does not raise your ceiling. It raises your floor. Now, if he turns to be a star tight end, that's a different story, but obviously we don't know that. Luther Burden, now you already have Colston Loveland. This is once again a BPA pick. I think at that point, maybe they could have gone position of need at this point. And maybe Luther Burden turns out to be a stud, which I think he will be. But once again, that's a ceiling, it's a floor raising move for me, and that's fine. But, the high floor doesn't get you anything. The Steelers always have a high floor every year. And what does it do for them? Does Cowboys have a high floor every year? What does it do for them? Same thing with the Vikings. I do like the Trapio and Shamar Turner picks. And then after that, man, you got Ruben Hippolyte, whatever, which was by far the worst draft pick in the entire draft. I can't for the life of me understand that pick at all. When you had a lot of running backs that actually slipped farther. And when Cam Skadaboo got picked up and Dylan Sampson got picked up, I'm like, what is going on here? Like, there's no way that you really thought Ruben Hippolyte was there. So I think for me, the loser part of it was more so which is a little bit unfair because the Bears can't really control obviously how the draft board falls until they get to them. But if let's just say Travion Henderson Travion Henderson ends up being a star running back in this league, there were reports that the Bears were trading up or wanted to trade up for him. If he ends up being a star, people are going to look at Ryan Poles like, why aren't you more aggressive? Why didn't you go ahead and get that guy? You're Jahmyr Gibbs for Ben Johnson. Colston Loveland, great. It's a great tight end. If it works, beautiful. If it doesn't, and Jalen Walker or James Pierce Jr. ends up being a great pick, you're like, why do you go there when your edges are not that great? You don't even address edge at all in the draft. I think they could have maybe gone offensive lineman maybe a little earlier. Luther Burden, I probably would have gone defensive or offensive line there, to be honest. And like I said, in Ben Johnson, we trust. I don't think that these players are going to be bad. I don't think that, I'm smarter than Ben Johnson. I'm absolutely not. But I really think that for the way the draft board fell out for us and for, what maybe could have been done in those picks, I think we are a loser in that regard, but I don't think we are the biggest loser. I think we did as well as maybe we could have, but I'm not a super big fan of some of those moves.
Wes, I have a question. So, the thing is, I feel like, okay, so when I saw the draft, when Kelvin Banks got drafted, right, I feel like either way, Ben Johnson was set on a tight end. Now that I think about it, because immediately when I saw it, it's a pick is in. Like he wanted Colson Loveland. I feel like. I think my thing is, and I don't know. I think we say this like last year, like what? When? Wait, 2 years ago when Ryan Poles like first took the job and he took Kyler Gordon over George Pickens, and that move is looking good right now. So I mean, sometimes we do see those picks happen in the draft. We're like, oh, we should have taken this guy over that guy. I think I do agree with you. Like we should have probably got an edge rusher in the draft. I've been really wanting an edge for so long, and maybe Deo Adangbo, whatever. I can't say his name correctly, but hopefully he's that guy because we did pay some big money to him. He's young, so maybe he works in Dennis Allen's scheme. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the way Ben Johnson drafted in this draft, he really stuck to his identity, and I'm not really mad at like his picks because I do think Luther Burden was a first round talent. Like you got a first round talent
absolutely
in the second round. You know what I'm saying? So like, obviously I do think Travion Henderson's that guy. Like I really do think he's really, really good. He was probably my second running back or third running back favorite in the draft behind Genty and Hampton. But like, I mean, the Patriots got him. You got to go with the next best available. So maybe you're right, but sometimes like hindsight like happens because again, 3 years ago, people are giving a lot of shade to Ryan Poles for not taking George Pickens, and it's been a good move because now Kyler Gordon's extended and George Pickens his career is uncertain right now. So I like it a lot. And yeah. So,
I think when it comes to the picks, I think the only situation I would say that's different is Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker attack positions of need because let's be honest, anything was a position of need back in 2022. We had almost nothing after Ryan Poles stripped the entire team down. And this situation is different because we already had players in that position. I'm not saying Cole Kmet's a top 5 tight end or anything. Obviously Colson Loveland better be better than Cole Kmet, but I think we would have been fine without if you told me we're going to go into the season with Cole Kmet, I would have been okay with that. I would have been more than fine with that. If you would have told me, hey, we're going into the season with DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and Olamide Zaccheaus, I would have been really fine with that. If we didn't have Colson Loveland or Burden on the teams, I would have been okay. I am very excited now because it's just like, holy crap, now we're going to score a lot of points. But does it help the team? Yeah. Does it raise the floor or the ceiling? And for me, I'd rather raise the ceiling. And that's just kind of where I'm at. But
like, you feel like we should like build a. So do you think like we should have like built the trenches more? Like,
yeah, I think maybe we should have picked more. I think more defensive line. I think I wanted it sort of rotational guys. Now there are guys left on the free agent market. My favorite right now is recently, I think got released today actually, Jadeveon Clowney, and I would love him as a rotational piece. Would be absolutely beautiful. You're not counting on him to start, obviously, but man, as like your third, fourth guy in when the left tackle is tired as shit in the fourth quarter. I mean, and you got a healthy Jadeveon Clowney, and he's a really good run stopper as well. So he would be
number one pick.
But yeah, absolutely. And so I think, like I said, in Ben Johnson we trust, and Ryan Poles we trust. I'm not going to sit here and say I know more. I do not. But if I kind of had to go and redo this myself, I would have done it a little differently. But I am not the general manager, so I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to be excited regardless.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, part of the reason why I said that they were the winners was how the board played out. I think that Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles were dead set on, hey, if Henderson falls to us, we're going to go in and take him, right? And I felt like, that's kind of the reason on why we went with Luther, because we cannot get Henderson. He fell. Judkins went before. Taking Caleb Johnson or any of the running backs at 41 would have been pretty expensive. So I felt like, that's kind of the reason why we didn't do that. But yeah, again, I'm with you, CeeVee. For the life of me, I cannot figure out why we went and selected Ruben Hippolyte. Like, we could have gone in and selected Caleb Johnson. We could have gone in and selected Braden Swinson. And Zoff Fraser too. Like, I like Zoff Fraser, but was DB really the biggest need? When we had edge, when we had running back. That being said, Kyle Manunga is a great pick, so we'll see how it turns out. But that's kind of why I said, we were the winners because of how that board played out. But yeah, let's give it to Soback. He hasn't talked in a while.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, it's all good. But yeah, I think as I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, my loser was definitely the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like just for the sole purpose of the fact that they never really addressed the wide receiver position, and because of that, they're in a position where they gave away George Pickens and still got compensation for it. But going into this season, your sole wide receiver, now you're back in the same issue now. Like you have a good wide receiver one. What about your wide receiver two? Like who's going to be your next Van Jefferson now at this point? Like, because that's where they're kind of at, where they're like, okay, we need to get a wide receiver two. Okay, now we got DK Metcalf as our wide receiver too. It may be a little bit tricky because they both don't really mesh along with each other. They both are trying to, aren't necessarily great route trees. But they will get those balls like 50-50 balls or even that goal ball for DK Metcalf. Oh, wait, what? What's his name? George Pickens is gone? Well, I guess we're back in the same position except for the fact that we're paying DK Metcalf a ton of money for him to be on this roster with still a big question at quarterback as well. So that's another issue that they have. They did address it with Will Howard. We'll have to see how well he plays into this scheme as well. I believe they're still in talks with Aaron Rodgers. Who knows what's going on with that guy and like his ties with the Chicago. So not Chicago. I never say that again. I'm sorry. Sorry. I mean, with the we talked about the Bears so much. I'm like mixing my words now.
I get you.
With ties with the Pittsburgh Steelers, like apparently Adam Lazard is also in talks with him, and it's all messy. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, so Alan Lazard on his Twitter account, you know the meme from Wolf of Wall Street where he goes like, "I'm not leaving."
Oh, you're not leaving?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he posted that, so he's like, "Yeah, I don't know, but yeah."
So wait, that means he's staying on the Jets? Like, what's going?
Yeah, I guess he just wants to stay in the Jets. Why would he go and leave?
And I heard the management for the Steelers were saying that they're relying on a big league from Roman freaking Wilson, which I guess could happen, but really, that's what you're going off of? Really quick too, if Mike Tomlin goes 9-8 or 10-7 this year, is he officially in the GOAT conversation with this roster?
I think so.
I think so. With Will Howard and Mason Rudolph, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, no, in my opinion, nah, because because I just don't think like mediocrity should be in the GOAT conversation. Just because like you have like 9-8 all the time. Because like obviously we've seen him have like crazy defenses, and like just like he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. Like I don't put Mike Tomlin. I think he's actually one of the most overrated coaches in all of football.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh, I agree with.
I'll tell you why. Because like my thing is. Like, okay, and I'm not trying to bring the NBA into this, but like we're seeing coaches get left and right fired for doing more than what Mike Tomlin's done in the span of what he's done and be mediocre. And I get it, he doesn't have the craziest quarterbacks because you do need a good quarterback. But all I'm asking is for one playoff victory, and I definitely thought that last year, and he definitely could have won a playoff game. And my thing is, like last year, right? They were like what 10-3, and now they went 10-7. They lost 5 straight games and lost to the Ravens. And Lamar Jackson, like we know, is not a really good playoff performer. And the reason why I put that on Mike Tomlin is because he was the one of the reasons why they did that, the benching of Fields to Wilson, right? And also another thing is like I'm not here to praise mediocrity, right? Just because like you are good enough to make the playoffs every year doesn't mean that you deserve to go and be in the GOAT conversation when it comes to coaches. And also Mike Tomlin was given Ben Roethlisberger. He never developed any quarterbacks. All the quarterbacks that he's had, I mean, he literally had a first-round pick in Kenny Pickett. Say what you want about Kenny Pickett, but, he is a first-round talent. You drafted him, and you didn't develop him. And
wait, wasn't he second round? I thought he was.
No, he was pick 18, I believe.
Yeah, he was first-round talent.
He was first round.
He was first-round talent, and you didn't develop him, and now He's a backup. So
Yeah.
Oh, it was
I just don't.
Pickens. That was second. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pickens is second.
Yeah.
So I just don't think like just because like you go to the playoffs every year, you shouldn't be like praised as like one of the goats. I actually think the Steelers should move on from him. I think
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
yeah.
I mean, for me personally, like Mike Tomlin is a great head coach. I mean, he's probably the longest tenured head coach in the entire league. But the Steelers, they're playing a team that was good like 10 years ago. The last time they went to the Super Bowl was in 2008, where they lost to the Packers. And after that, they kind of fell off the wagon. Yes, since Big Ben, they really haven't had that quarterback. Maybe Will Howard can be that guy. We don't know that. But their team is so back. I mean, think about it's kind of like how the Bears were, right? Like for years, even with Foos, we were kind of that back. We kind of played that, a team that was stuck in the past. And then we got Ben Johnson, and now we're in modern times, right? And that division, and they're going to play the Ravens twice, the Bengals twice. They'll probably beat the Browns. But how are we going to beat the Bengals and the Ravens? They're going to finish at least third, maybe fourth, because they have no quarterback. I don't really know. Like I agree with you. Like Mike Tomlin is pretty overrated. The OC hires have not been the best. Arthur Smith is good. Somebody here helped me with who their previous OC was, but he was like terrible.
Oh, Matt Canada.
Matt Canada.
Oh my gosh.
Bro was bad. He held on him for way too long. He went with Russ when he probably should have went with Justin. Yes, the Justin enthusiasts are probably cheering right now, like Black Dick, that other dude, and for Sam Mock. But yeah, I mean,
Mock is a whole conversation,
bro.
Boy.
Doing it, I'm so funny. It's so funny though that the Saints decided to pick Tyler Slow over his guy Spencer Rattler.
Is it Chuck or is it Show? Like I always getting mixed.
Tyler
like,
Old, that's what his name should be. Holy shit, I mean,
bro, they drafted a 25-year quarterback.
Bro, it's older than me. I'm looking at all these guys who are drafted, like Michael Williams.
How old is he?
He's like he's turning 26 this year. He's gonna be like 26 in September.
How is he 1 year older than what the?
Dude, it's crazy. I mean, I turn 25 next month, and I'm looking at Michael Williams, who's I believe 20 years old right now. I'm like, dude, what the hell? And you're drafting this dude who's gonna be 30 by the time his rookie contract expires. Oh my gosh, like that's insane.
I think it's because of the COVID years, right? So when COVID happened, all these schools played an extra year. So one of my friends, Peyton Thorne, he's a UDFA for the Bengals, so he got an extra year. So because of this whole COVID year, it kind of threw everything made everything crazy. So that's kind of why he's so old. But I mean, the fact that they basically said Spencer Rattler sucks to this dude is super funny. Like, thank you, Saints, for doing that.
No, yeah, that's kind of like similar to. I'm trying to remember, like, yeah, I mean, geez, it's crazy. But then again, I guess we kind of went through every winners and losers. I appreciate everyone for taking the time and kind of, going through every single pick. We had some great insights, obviously. Appreciate that. Appreciate everyone for tuning in for an hour and 30 minutes of us talking about football. Always remember to like and subscribe. Let's do a quick promo for YouTube. You want to start, CeeVee?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. CeeVee3. Go ahead and subscribe. Definitely need to do more of a grind on YouTube, and obviously it's a little bit slower now, but we'll find some things to talk about. So it's stuff like this that really does help.
We'll find everything. But yeah, Advaith Next.
Yeah, my name is Advaith Kumar. You can find me on YouTube. I'm probably going to be expanding from just making Bears content. My next video is probably going to be about the Steelers. But go ahead and subscribe to me. Go ahead and subscribe to Soback and Slashing, both great guys, and CeeVee, both great guys. So go and subscribe to these boys. And yeah.
Sounds good. Well, appreciate you everyone for tuning in and watching the stream and this podcast. We'll find more content down the line. And as always, guys, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bear down.